Excuse me. Check this out. I did a video talking about this because it basically showed or rather affirmed a lot of what I've been saying about like the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well as comic books related material in general these days, where it seems like it has little to no passion in it because it has no passion in it. What they are basically projects for producers, actors, and actresses to get their names out there, to make some money, to become influential. That's really the only reason these are being used. The people that are acting in these roles, producing this content, don't really care about that like you do. It's why I continue to say that they care more about the products than you care about them as a fan, which it should never be that way. But that's just the reality of having a mega corporation like a Disney or in this case, Discovery now with DC having control of this, because for them, it's just a line item. It's another way to get merch out there, to get to make a little money. But the people that are part of them do not care at all about the source material. And what Christian Bale had to say about this Gorr, which I said was it looks terrible. I'm just going to be completely honest. And there's of course people that like Christian Bale because of his previous work, especially stuff that was comic book related. People love him, so they look at it like, well, it'll be okay because he doesn't look anything like Gorr. And Gorr, for those of you who don't know, he's probably one of the few, because Thor being who Thor is in comics, it's very difficult to give him like notable villains that stick. Gorr was one of the more prominent ones over the last 10 years that was decent. People, for the most part, thought that it was okay. And I remember when I first saw him, I was like, I have no idea who that is, but it's not Gorr. Gorr, prior to him becoming a God Butcher, to when he got the sword and became God Butcher, has never looked like this. He's a big part of who he is and what he looks like, as well as the species that he came from, is the fact that he basically doesn't have a human face. And here Christian Bale just looks like he's, I don't know, Marilyn Manson without hair. It's not really Gorr at all. It's just Christian Bale in whiteface. Is all that it really is. None of those features. Some people say, well, they didn't want him to look like Voldemort, or they had Ebony Maw who was in it, and they look too similar. And it's like, that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because you don't say that about people that do have a face. Oh, well, that alien character has a humanoid kind of face, so we can't give this other. You don't do that, so why would you do it here? That doesn't make any sense. As I said in the previous video that I did, he just looks like Quan Chi. That's from Mortal Kombat for you guys that played it. But either way, he doesn't look anything like Gorr. People, of course, try to rationalize with it. And then you had those that said I was flat out wrong on this. There has to be a reason. It's like, yeah, the reason is they don't care. And you know what Christian Bale basically confirmed? That's true. And this is Christian Bale of all people. He's been known, like his one defining actor trait is that he will deform his body in whatever way that he needs to in order to fit the role. And apparently giving him a face or not giving him a face was too much for him. And maybe that's something that's baked into his contract. I think that's usual. You know, you saw that with actors. It's very rare do actors go into it like Urban did with Judge Dredd, where all right, I am supposed to be acting in this role, so I am going to be that no matter if they know who is under this helmet, right? There's a lot of people, most of them probably have baked in their deal that they have to have X amount of screen time, and they have to, of course, show their face because people want them to know who they are. Says, and this is what he had to say. And he explains why he doesn't look anything like Gorr. I was coming off a film where it was necessary to be sort of rather lacking in muscle. And then I saw the images and thought, well, that's not going to be possible. And this G-string thing that's going on here. He looked in the comics like physically, someone to be reckoned with, though. He continued. He said, and I said, well, that's just not going to be possible in the state I'm in. And we literally have 3 days between me finishing one film and heading over to Australia for the quarantine and whatnot. I usually have much more time in between, but the pandemic meant things got worked out the way. So basically, it was inconvenient for him. Now, if you want to say that's his fault, if you want to say that's Marvel Studios' fault, I totally don't care whose fault you think that it is. That, well, which, again, doesn't explain his face. That doesn't explain anything there. It doesn't matter who you blame, if you ask me. All this does is say, well, y'all couldn't be inconvenienced to get either an actor that would be willing to look the role, or just make Christian Bale look the role. So you can call it what you want. That's y'all's business. How about that? Y'all work that out. The folks that want to cover for Christian Bale and are going to cover for Marvel Studios, all you shields, y'all can figure that out as far as whose fault it is. I don't particularly care. All I know is that this is Christian Bale saying, well, I had other things to do. So I wasn't going to make it happen. And they said, okay. I thought it was the best person for the job. Ain't that what y'all told me? That's what y'all told me when we get all these tokenizations. Best person for the job. This dude was coming off another project, right? Coming off another project. It couldn't be bothered to get right for the role. So much for that. It's almost like that argument was never actually an argument. So blame who you will. Blame the studios for not giving him enough time, which again still doesn't answer the fact of which he looks the way that he looks in the face. If you want to talk about him being like thin, okay, I'll give you that. But even with his face, that ain't got nothing to do with what the other project he came from. That's just the studios not having passion in what it was that they were doing. Just saying, we don't care. We want everybody to know that's Christian Bale, so we're just going to make him look like Christian Bale in whiteface. That's it. Looks nothing like Gorr at all. It doesn't look as intimidating when I could totally understand him making sense with him being frail, definitely considering his origin, right? But when he becomes the God Butcher, which we got to see kind of how that plays out. But to all accounts, it doesn't look like he's getting bigger. It doesn't look like he's getting like his face. I guess his nose would just get cut off or something like that. It doesn't look like any of that is happening. He doesn't have lips or whatever. That looks like that's not happening. Okay. To all accounts, that's not happening. He's just going to look like Quan Chi, I guess, carrying the sword. That's it. So, and this just confirmed what it is that I assume. They just couldn't be bothered. That's what passion or lack thereof looks like. Okay? Call it a rush job. Call it whatever you want. Don't care. Blame who you want. But when you don't have passion in your projects, that's what happens. You just say, we will do whatever we want. And to be fair, that's what a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has become. It's not about it being the straw manners will always insist that a lot of us expect for there to be a one-by-one adaptation. We understand that some capabilities, considering that they come from the books and that source material, is going to be a lot more difficult to adapt. But the fact is, you can at least give it a shot, number one, and you make the concessions where you have to. But it doesn't even look like they're trying. This just looks like, well, that character will be them in name. They'll have maybe one thing that is kind of attributed to their source material in terms of how they look or act. But aside from that, it's just whatever. Who cares? You know what I mean? And yeah, for those of you that are like, why don't you go watch this stuff? Why aren't you covering it? You should just shut your mind off and consume. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I've told y'all I'm not going to do that. But I've accepted that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not making material with me in mind. So why on earth would I reward them with my money? When they have told me, they made it clear, hey, we're doing whatever we want. Source material be damned. We are not writing it with a person that has a frame of reference in mind. We're not doing stories with people that have a frame of reference in mind. We're just doing random stories just to put them out there. And this is backdoor deals in more ways than one. People scratching each other's back, giving each other gigs. That's what it's about. It ain't about honoring any sort of source material or paying any sort of respect. Okay. Why on earth would I be obligated to give you my money? I have a frame of reference. I'm not an idiot. And I'm certainly not a consumer. So why on earth would I do that? So, I guess do what you will. I mean, I'm here to make fun of it, but do what you will. Don't expect me to pay for it. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, ericdjuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.